Beach and Fishing. How you going? Hey, I'm out here in a kayak and I just wanted to give you some information about some tips for kayak fishing for beginners. So if you're someone who's looking to get out on your kayak and do a bit of fishing, I just want to show you quickly around some of the things that I do to make sure that I'm comfortable on the kayak and I can, fish without getting myself all tangled up and all my lines tangled and all sorts of things like that, which, trust me, I've done more times than I care to think about. But as I say, today we're going to talk about tips for kayak fishing. Now, the first one that I've got for you is probably the one to consider as we go through everything that we talk about over the next, I think there was 8 tips. I didn't check my post before I got here, but there's 8 tips, I think. And the first one is real estate. Now, I'm going to spin this around. I'll try not to spin you around too many times to make you dizzy. But as you can see here, I've got the kayak there. I'm in a small 8-foot kayak, so you can see there's not a lot of space in the kayak that I'm dealing with. So real estate is of the essence. So anything that you can do to make things easier for you, as in not having a lot of clutter on your kayak, is definitely the way to go. So first one is consider your real estate before you get started and think about how you're going to manage that as we go through. Now again, I apologise because I didn't actually do any due diligence here and check the post before I came out here, so if I get these in the wrong order, just spin them around in order from the post, or maybe I'll not get lazy and change the post as we go along. But my second tip here is to do with fishing rods. I've got 2 very light, very short fishing rods here. This one here is actually at my son's kids, it's a children's rod with a very, very light reel on. I think it's only a 500 reel. I picked it up in the US. The other one here, I have a bit of a heavier rig. I've got a Kayak rod and reel. It is a bait caster reel. A little bit when I'm getting used to it and it's working okay. Now these rods are only about, this one here is, I think, what am I looking at here? 1.8 meters, which is just under 6 foot. This one here is, I think, it doesn't say, but it's about the same length. So they're both under 6 foot in length for rods. And the reason for that I always recommend a smaller rod or a lighter rod on a kayak is the fact that hopefully while I'm sitting here fishing, I'm just drifting along at the moment. I've got a soft plastic out and some fresh bait. I like to put both my eggs. I like to have my eggs in 2 baskets. I always fish with bait and a lure. Some people like lures, some people like baits, which is a whole different discussion. But if you're using a light rod or a short rod, think about how long and what happens if I catch a fish. So this is going to the end of the kayak. So if I've got a fish hanging around on there, the longer the rod, the harder it is to get that fish in onto the vessel, manage everything you're doing, and so on and so forth. So that's my second tip there, is just make sure you keep your rods at a manageable length. That said, I go fishing with a friend of mine. He's got a 7.5 foot rod and he loves it because he reckons he can jig his lures and stuff better with it. So that's, again, up to you. Okay, my third option here is how you work with your tackle and the like. Now, excuse me, at the back here, I don't know if I can see, so I can't see a thing, I have my tackle bag. But if I have my trolling motor on here, which is to the side, I don't have that tackle bag on. So what I do is, if I open this up, I'll move my water out of the way. I have in there, I have a little tackle box. It's got some spare tackle. It's got my spare GoPro camera in it. Spare GoPro battery. It has all that stuff in there so that I can see what I'm looking at as far as my bait. It means if my tackle, so if I get a snag or lose my tackle, I've got it right there. In here, I've also got a little box with lures in. I'm running soft plastics at the moment, and I've got a couple of different types of soft plastics. So I've got the Berkeley Gulp and some, what have I got here, some Z-Man 10X Tough. So if my first lot don't work, I'm going to rip that off and put the second one on. But my point is, number 3, have all your little bits of bait right there. Because if you've got your bait there, that means that you can get it easily, and you're not trying to jump around around into your tackle bag and everything behind you. The reason I bought that tackle bag behind me is it actually has a dry patch in it, so I can keep my phone and keys and the like in it. Normally, if I don't, I have another little dry pack here that I put in there. Step 4, how you're going to keep your fish. Again, real estate, very small. Sometimes I'll fill that little well up with water. I also have a little keeper bag here, which I tie to the side, put the fish in, and that is where I keep my fish. So tip 3, make sure you've got all your tackle somewhere where it's easily accessible while you're fishing, because again, it's really hard to move around, and keep your stuff in a tackle bag. Number 4 is safety and comfort while you're out there. So I have, you can see here, I've got my life jacket. It's mandatory in closed waters here. I'm in so you can see where I am here. I'm floating up with the tide, up to that point around the corner there, and once the tide changes, I'm almost on the top of the tide, I'm going to turn around and float back, and that's effectively what I'm doing. But because I'm on my own, it's a weekday, so unfortunately all my fishing buddies are at work. This is my job, I'm lucky. So I'm wearing my life jacket, I have some water here with me, I'm wearing sunscreen and the like as well. So I just making sure that I've got all my safety issues covered. I'm a strong believer of wearing a life jacket whilst I am on the water, especially if I'm by myself. Sorry, just a bit of paper closure in here. I don't know what it is. Yeah, so that is my tip number 5. Make sure that you are maintaining your safety aspects with you at all times. If you're by yourself, wear a life jacket. 2 little boats went past here before, which rocked me around a bit. If I wasn't careful, I would have fallen in. My next one, as far as tips is concerned, is paddle safety. I'm actually breaking my own rules here on my lap. It means if someone goes crazy with my rods, they're bouncing around along the bottom at the moment. If I manage to get one on and I'm not careful, my paddle's going to end up over the side. What I do have here is some paddle clips. I'd recommend, if you're going to drift for a while, put your paddle in one of them. Get yourself a little clip that you can actually screw onto the side, and it just clips on. It just keeps your paddle safe. But know where your paddle is at all times, because trust me, you do not want to have your paddle fall in the water. And I can't remember what tip I'm up to, but I hope I'm covering them all. My next one is, when you're in a kayak, I mean, one of the reasons you go in a kayak is so that you can always find where you are, so you can get to places you can't get to when you're going to cast. Let me start that all again. You can go to places in a kayak that you can't cast to when you're on the side. So again, I'm drifting up here because around the corner here is a really nice hole for catching quite a few fish. I'm not going to use my camera while, that's why I'm doing this now, so I'm not talking to you when I'm in the prime fishing areas. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing at the moment. But that doesn't mean if you're in a kayak you can't stop. If you find yourself drifting past everywhere, paddle up the side and cast from the side, especially if you're near the hole you want to be at. If you find that you keep drifting past the hole you're looking at, then just go in the side there and stow your kayak and drift from the side. Just because you're floating around doesn't mean you can't stop. And my last tip is one I can't really show you here, but if you have a kayak trolley, I'll put a photo in the post under the video so you can see what I'm talking about. So have a look below. Here's my hand. Have a look below and you'll see the picture of the trolley. The trolley is an absolute must-have if you're trying to take everything to the water in your boat, in your kayak. So if I get my kayak out of the back of the truck, and as I say, I'm here by myself today, so if I get my kayak out of the back of the truck and I'm then trying to get a hold of it and get the rods and put the rods in and my water and my tackle bag, and I've got a yabby pump there behind me as well. If I'm doing all that, it's just going to take 3 or 4 trips, and no one wants to take 3 or 4 trips. So my recommendation is to always make sure you have a kayak trolley. If you don't have one, go and get one. If you don't know what they look like, have them down the bottom. That's it, guys. That is my tips for kayak fishing. So if you're a beginner setting up the kayak, they're the things that you need to consider. Well, I believe you need to consider. The beauty of fishing, everyone has their own piece of advice, but be prepared for your real estate. Make sure that you've got everything easy to access and in a good spot, because if it's hard, if you're moving around, you haven't got a lot of room. I've got bait there in my little cup holder thing, so again, it's just easy for me to get to everything. Your rods, make sure they're small enough to be able to handle on the kayak. Another thing, I don't even know if this is in the tip, you could always have a net with you as well. I've got my net there. Trust me, nets are a lot easier to bring your fish into the vessel with. Where we are here, we often catch a species called a flathead. And if you have ever caught flathead here in Australia and you've caught flathead, I'm sure there's species overseas that do the same thing. You get them to the boat, if you're not careful, they'll throw the hook. So if they spit the hook out, you need to make sure that you have a net there to be able to scoot them up before they can do that, because as soon as you put pressure on them, that's when you tend to lose them. So if you can just drift them in the water, get your net under it, do that. So make sure your rod's easy to handle so that you can get your fish in well enough. Have everything at easy reach. As I say, I've got my little hatch here in front of me, which has got a little container with some tackle in it. I've got my lures, my soft plastics and everything in there, so I can swap them around very easily. I have got a tackle bag behind me. I've got some extra line and stuff in that as well. And make sure you know where your paddle is at all times. Be safe with your life jacket, hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, etc. Just be aware that you can stop. I have a little anchor that I often bring with me. I don't have it with me today, but you can bring an anchor with you. And I think that's about it. Apologies if I've missed something, but that's it. Hope that was helpful for you guys. As I say, I do a lot of kayak fishing. This is how I run it. 2 rods, a little bit of tackle, and off I go. If I run out of anything, well, then it's obviously go back, and I'm not going too far anyway. Let's keep saying that's it. I'm just trying to find things to say now. So if you're watching this within YouTube, please like and subscribe to my channel. That way you can keep up with everything I'm doing in the kayak and on the surf and on the lake and anywhere else I go. I've picked up myself up a trolling motor recently and a few extra rods, so I'm going to start reviewing those. And if you're watching this from the post, any comments, any feedback, what do you take with you when you go in your kayak? What don't you take? Any difference of opinion of mine, I'd love to hear from it. As I keep saying, one thing I love about fishing, everyone has a difference of opinion. That's about it. Comment below. Would love to chat to you. That's it, guys. Have fun in a kayak, and I'll chat to you soon.